Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, your favorite Giants podcast. I am your host, the Football Grump. With me, as always, is Mike, the Cranky Fan, and we are back following the Senior Bowl week, and this is now your airwaves through the NFL sort of playoff bye week, I guess is what you'd call this, the Super Bowl bye week, where nothing happens, but there's a constant reporting of everything that's going on with the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, glad you're back. I know we both were traveling this past week. You were at the Senior Bowl. I just got back from the Stadium Series, which
Yeah, tell me
I
about
still think
that.
is what's that? Oh, I was thinking about this, and I think I texted you earlier today. I think that's in my top five greatest regular season games I've ever been to in any sport for any of my teams. I mean, really quick. I know this is not the Just Lightning podcast, but we had a goal in the first 11 seconds.
Well, first set it up. Where
Boston's
was it?
It was down in Tampa at the at Raymond James Stadium. So it was the first outdoor game they've had in Tampa. 65,000 people, 40 degrees. That's the big thing. I mean, everybody listening to this has been freezing their ass off in New York, but Florida was almost as cold. And Saturday night, because it was Gasparilla also, I think I saw some sleet and maybe a snow flurry Saturday night. It was that cold. The locals were really freezing their ass off. It felt like being at a Giants game in early December, except the home team had a chance to win as opposed to the Giants. So we had in this game a goal scored in the first 11 seconds, Boston scoring five in a row, a goalie fight, which was the sickest thing. Lightning coming back, scoring five in a row of their own. A missed wide open breakaway by Nikita Kucherov in overtime that would have won it. He blew another penalty in the shootout, and they won in the shootout. It was nuts, and it was exciting. And for someone who used to sell beer in that arena 30 years ago, when maybe 5,000 people maybe showed up, it's really happy to see that how big hockey is in the state of Florida. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wanted to. I those things are so cool. The stadium thing, the stadium series, it's unmatched as far as I can tell in like any other sport. There's really nothing quite like that.
The only
Having
thing
outdoor hockey with like 50,000 plus, no matter where they are.
Yeah. The only thing I can compare it to, and it's not exactly apples to apples, is when the Major League Baseball does the Field of Dreams in Iowa. That's kind of cool too, but it's a little different. This probably was 70-30 Lightning Bruins fans,
Mm,
and the Boston fans showed up. And talk about obnoxious.
mm.
Talk about a fan base that thinks they won the Super Bowl already, even though it hasn't been played yet. I mean,
Oh, okay.
yeah, these we're gonna talk about the Super Bowl later, but for a fan base, for anybody who's under 40 is beyond entitled, especially when everybody over 40 always feels that gloom and doom is, the
Mm.
next pitch or the next pass or the next shot away. So they're pretty guys sitting behind me were just unbearable chouds. It was just sweet because they thought yesterday was in the bag, and they come up with their tail and their legs too. And hopefully we'll see that again next week.
There you go. Um, that is super cool. I thought I was missing out by not going to the one at MetLife. That was Devils Flyers, and it was a really, really great game. And I felt bad about not going. And then everybody I know that went was like, dude, it was like -3 degrees, and I was like, nah, I don't feel so bad anymore. But
It
now,
was
now I
cold.
kind of, now I kind of wish. No, dude, I understand. So I was in Mobile. This is the
Yeah.
coldest week in Mobile. I got sick. Like, first of all, I've been sick 3 times since November now. It's insane. I'm about had it with it.
You've been hanging around Bobby too long. That's your problem, I
Yeah.
think.
Then we go down there, and I was fine going down there. And then we stood with, dude, the whole fucking. So this is not run by Jim Nagy anymore, and it's not sponsored by Reese's anymore.
Mhm.
I guess those contracts. Jim Nagy got a job, and maybe the Reese's partnership. That contract just happened to run out at the same time. I have no
Right.
idea, but new director. and he changed up the schedule. So get there, and well, first of all, my flight was canceled going down there. So
Ugh.
I was supposed to go down on Sunday. I had it all planned out, so I had a whole extra day in case the worst happened. Well, the worst happened. There's a snowstorm ish, sort of. So my flight was canceled. Got one for Monday. No big deal. But now I'm a day behind. Only flight I can get Monday that was like reasonable had me leaving the house very, very early. So I had to get up at like 4:45 in the morning. No big deal. Problem is, next day I got to get up at 4:45 in the morning just to do the radio row because now we've screwed up the entire schedule. So we have interviews with players from like 6 to 7. Then from 7 to 8, they're in their meetings with teams. And then 8 to 9, more interviews. So I have to get the hell up super early, so you shower, get out of the house, get coffee, and get over to the convention center. So it's 2 days in a row now. You're waking up at 4:45. Do all that junk, then go back. Now you have time to kill, so you got breakfasts, whatever. Then practice doesn't start till 1 now, as opposed to like I think it was 10.
What are we doing all day?
No, yeah, so nothing. Like I don't know. So then you get there, and it was 40 degrees the whole time we were down there. So, and then like now because it's so late, the second practice is ending at 6. The sun's setting. Now you're in darkness. So it's windy as hell. Is cold. So I woke up. I was like Wednesday night, and we were like eating dinner, and I was just like, man, I'm not really that hungry. And I was like thinking about it. I was like, I didn't really eat much today. Weird that I'm not hungry. I kind of feel weird. I'm going to bed, and then I woke up sick Thursday morning. It was fucking
And
terrible.
that was the night because we were going to tape an episode of this show and have you and Bobby on, but you were like, "Hey, I just got back from dinner. It's not happening
Yeah.
tonight. We'll plan, accordingly afterwards." So I knew something was up when you guys, because once you get on a roll, I'm curious. You know, this is your third trip to the Senior Bowl now with those guys,
I
or
think the
fourth?
fourth. I think it's the fourth.
Um, I want to hear a little bit about your experience there. I mean, compared to like the first time you were there, you were basically just kind of helping Bobby and Justin to now being a full-fledged part of the show. I mean, when you said you're on Radio Row, are you actually kind of part of the media there? I mean,
Yeah.
what's it like for you guys?
So it's yeah. So you get the press badge, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff that we don't even do. There's like events, like there's like media night thing, and we've never done it. And I know other people have, and I think you can like have a chance to talk to some of the players in like a press conferencey sort of way where they're at like a podium or something like that. We don't do that. But so for the radio row thing, like in the morning is so they just assign you like a table, and it's in the convention center. So like I guess there's like a parking garage and then like a sky bridge. And then when you come in from the sky bridge, you either go right through Radio Row or left through like curtains, and that brings you to like team interviews.
Mm.
So they're kind of wandering around, and there's like these handlers there, right? And they work for whatever, they're the staff, and they sort of are like this in between where they're like, hey, this player, and this player is coming through here, and whatever, pretty much be like, oh, can we have 5 minutes with such and such, and set it up. Like before you get there, like you fill out a sheet of requests, and then that's just something that they ignore because like I don't think anyone we've ever requested came through. And it's not to say whatever, like happy to talk to any player about anything.
Right.
There's plenty to talk about with any player, but
Mhm.
like you get the premier guys, you ask questions, whatever, or just any guys for any reason. Like might have picked a guy because he's from New Jersey, you know what I mean, or
I
whatever.
appreciate the Austin Barber interview. That was good. I had a couple of questions for him also, but that was a good one. Good get.
Yeah, so that was actually before I got there.
Mhm.
That was the day I was flying. Bobby was handling that without me, and then like, so here's the thing that's annoying is that, like there are team interviews which are super important for these players, right?
Sure.
Then there are like the big media interviews. So like you have like ESPN or a radio station or PFF or something like that, or like John Schmelka's down there for the Giants,
Mhm.
and he's just doing his regular show, but it's a little bit more official than us. And then there's like us, which is like everybody else underneath. So they kind of, if they're only going to do like a team interview, some team interviews, and then like one interview, it's probably going to be with like PFF
Right.
or whatever. So you kind of sort of get stragglers, I guess.
Hmm.
I also imagine where your booth is set up plays into your chances of getting interviews as well.
Hmm.
If it's just on like a more common pathway. But Bobby got a number of interviews the first day. He was doing really well. And then the second day, we got literally one. And so we were sitting around all day, all morning, and we were just like, you know what, we're not coming back tomorrow. Like, this is too much to like get up and just sit around, dick around on our phones because no one's coming through.
Is it just the two of you? Is anybody, is like Danny there or anybody else? Or
No, I mean, like Bobby's wife is there,
right,
and
she's a big help with everything. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, she's like 50% of the crew. So,
Hmm.
um, it's been different, right? The first time that we went down there, like that was always part of it, and it was always kind of the same, right? They ignore the lists, you get what you get. But like we got up early, we went there, but then we pretty much just went straight to practice after that. So that was
Hmm.
like you got up early and you started your day, which is real easy to do.
Right.
So we would go straight to practice and then, watch one practice. You'd have about an hour and a half in between practices, run to the local gas station, get coffee, get like a snack, something like that, run back, and then watch the second practice. And all the while, just taking notes, wandering around the stadium to where the drills are being performed that you really want to focus in on. And
Hmm.
then, after practice, they have like after each practice they have like a 10 minutes like on the field time for like people to ask players questions. Never did any of that shit either. It's not that it's a rip off, it's just that there's a long line and the clock starts as soon as they start letting people on. So if you're not first in line, there's probably only like 7.5 minutes by the time you hit the grass.
I got to be very honest. When the coverage you guys do is fantastic because what I really like from it is your analysis of what you see. If you didn't get interviews, I wouldn't sweat that at all. And because what are you going to hear? You're going to hear guys practicing their sound bites and everything. I think that the value is what you guys do is you're watching drills, you're making analysis, you're giving your fresh takes to it. So I wouldn't worry about the interview part one bit.
Yeah, the player interviews are not my favorite thing, and
Mhm.
for that reason, but I do think that there's time and place stuff, right? So like when you're doing the Radio Row thing and you're sort of around the time of team meetings, um, their brains are on football, like in the moment, and so
Mhm.
you can ask them some interesting football questions, um, and even though it's early in the morning, like they're kind of thinking that way. You get them after practice and it's just like, I'm done, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
and like they're sweaty, they're ready to, you know what I mean, like it's the end of the day, like it's not really like they're sort of at exhaustion. Think about yourself at the end
Right.
of a work day, and then like you go to the media night thing and it's like they're literally in front of a podium. So for the Radio Row thing, I actually really do like talking to them because you can get them sort of talking ball. I remember last year we had quarterback from Memphis, Seth something. I
Yeah.
think it
I know
began
who
with
you're
an
talking
H,
about.
but we had like a whiteboard with him, and we had him drawing up
Oh,
plays and stuff like that. Like, though, we're free to do whatever. I mean, it's our table, so
that's fantastic. That's
um,
interesting.
I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of value in the Radio Row if you can get the people. So,
Right.
um, yeah, Austin Barber was an interview. Bud Clark was a really good interview and turned out to be a standout player while we were down there.
Mhm.
And then in terms of just like watching stuff, like you appreciate like the analysis, whatever. Like it really is a full time focus. Like you only get the one shot at reps,
Mhm.
to watch them and take notes, and you have to kind of memorize numbers on the fly.
Oof.
I mean, like they give you a roster sheet, but it's not
That's still
organ.
not easy.
It's
Mhm.
not easy for starters,
Mhm.
because they're all new. You just got to memorize shit immediately,
Mhm.
and that's not easy. It's not really organized the way I think is helpful, and also it's usually wrong because there are last minute dropouts and therefore last minute ads a lot of times.
Mhm.
So what happened is I just made my own. So after that first day, like we got the roster sheets and I just restructured it to a way that made more sense to read. And then we
Mhm.
just printed those and we're going off of those. And that made it a lot easier because it is a whole lot of like okay, so like the first day you start get a good idea of which guys are sort of above the other guys, right? Some guys who
Mhm.
just like just have more quality reps. they look better than the other guys there. You get a good
Right.
idea. But they're only in uppers. They're all wearing shorts. Then the second day they're in full pads. And now like you've reshifted to be like, okay, so it's 2 days in a row with this guy, he's really good. Now you want to see them like go up against the other guy that's good. So you get the wide receiver DB drills. You're looking for those matchups like, okay, cool. So this is Chandler Rivers and Kevin Coleman. Let's watch this. This is a good matchup to watch right here. And then, so that becomes the way the analysis usually works, and then you start looking at best on best and that sort of thing.
Last question before we talk about what you actually saw. You've been going for 4 years now.
Hmm.
Have you noticed that, not only you guys, but, all of the podcasting media contingent is getting more and more respect there that like the traditional media does? Are they being, do you guys feel like you're getting more and more access than they do, or is it still kind of like, it's their show and you guys get scraps?
No, I don't actually think. I think the Senior Bowl does a really good job of treating us as equals. I mean,
Excellent.
there are perks, right? Like if you are Diana Rossini, you're on the field. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
if you are PFF, you're on the field for the drills and stuff like that. But in what we're talking about, like, yeah, that's really cool that they can be down that low. But like being the first row in the corner end zone, it's like I could touch these guys in the head when they're lining up
What if
for
you're like
drills.
Paul
Like it's
Schwartz or something? I mean, like a giant beat writer.
they probably have field access.
Mhm.
But yeah, because I think I saw Schmelk out there. I think
Mhm.
he has field access. Yeah,
I wonder
but I
if
mean,
most of
otherwise, I
the.
mean, it's pretty fair. What are we really? There is a difference between what they do and what we do, right? So like,
Mhm, mhm.
they are held to a journalistic standard. I'm also some guy. They have no idea I could run on the field and bash a player in the side of the leg. You know what I mean? Like, there is some level of journalistic integrity that they have to uphold to, and whatever. So
You
I
guys are
don't really.
credentialed though, right? You do have press credentials, so.
Correct, but there is ways to get that field access now. I don't think it's possible. It would be denied if we asked for it. I think, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we just needed to ask for it.
I mean, it seems like the divide between traditional media and the next generation, which I classify all of us under. I feel like that gap is narrowing, and a lot more credibility. You know, so hopefully that keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, like I don't feel like I'm treated like a second class citizen there at all. Like I
That's
said,
good.
there are minor differences. But first of
Mhm.
all, they're not differences I care about personally. I don't really want to be on the field. I feel like there are some
Right.
drills that we want to go up high so that we can see better, like we can get a better angle of what's going on. So
Mhm.
there's I don't feel slighted in the least.
You still can't make videos, right?
You cannot live stream it, but you can.
Oh.
So what we would do to kind of, because you have O line, D line doing their one on ones on one side of the field, and then you have wide receivers, DBs doing theirs on the other. So what we
Mhm.
typically do is, because it's easier to get like video of O line, D line because they're just in one spot, as opposed to wide
Mhm.
receiver, DBs are running all over the field. We usually just have the camera angled directly on from way up high on O line, D line drills, and then Bobby and I will break off and do watch the wide receiver DBs live,
Mhm.
take our notes, then go back and watch the film of O line, D line later.
Mhm.
Um, this year they gave us slightly more access to the stadium. They widened it, so like it usually was like goal line to goal line basically.
Mhm.
This time on the one side of the field, they pushed it so it was behind the goalposts, so we could
Hmm.
actually set up like the horizontal, the QB angle essentially of O line D line drills instead of the
Gotcha.
side angle, instead of the broadcast angle. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and that actually made it a lot easier to watch some stuff with the drills.
Cool. All right. So I guess, some of the big questions, I have is what did you see? What was what, you know, at a high level, what did you think of like, the quality of the players you saw relative to other years and then kind of who stood out to you?
It's a
Was
mixed
this like a better
bag.
class compared to like last year, the year before, or
No,
overall talent level?
no. This is so. It's not as good as last year. We'll start with that. So every year, some dudes don't come, and that's just normal. And they tend to be the ones that have the higher draft stock already. Like they have more to lose by getting hurt than they have to gain down there, telling people what they already know.
Right.
Um, Other people come down here, and they're usually the big name guys. They show up for one practice on Wednesday, or whatever Tuesday. They dominate the whole practice, and then they just go home Wednesday. So like they've shown enough, they're not going to get hurt, and that's what a lot of guys do. Sometimes it's two practices, and then they bail. Like Puka Nakua did that. Like plenty of guys do that. They go down here, they just show what they need to show, and then they're done. Quinyon Mitchell was another one. He did 2 days and then he left.
Okay.
I think what happened because of the snow. This is entirely a theory, but I think it's a good theory. Because of the snow screwing everything up on Sunday and Monday around the
Mhm.
entire country, I think a lot of the guys that were planning on showing up for one day just said fuck it.
It's very possible.
Because there were 34 guys that did not show up.
Oh yeah, that sounds like logistic related. That doesn't sound like all of a sudden a mass boycott or just I'm above it all. That sounds like
Yeah, it just
it
I
didn't work
think
out.
I think those guys were on the fence about going, or were only going to go for a short amount of time, and then once their
Mhm.
flight plans became a total hassle, they just said, I don't really need this that badly. Uh,
Immobile is not like flying exactly into Atlanta. I mean,
it's a regional
it's an
airport. It's
effort to get.
hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are plenty of people that fly to Pensacola and drive. Plenty of
Oof,
people that
I've
do
done
that.
that. Rough.
Um, So this year there were some really big standouts. I'm sure you know Caleb Banks was like
Mm.
unbelievable. Peter Woods, people, or sorry, not Peter Woods, TJ Parker, people were
Mm.
saying was having an unbelievable time. Um, in general, I thought that there was a pretty bad imbalance. So this is one of the worst quarterback years I can remember. And when quarterbacks affected, it throws off the whole fucking team drills are bad. Like all of the team drills are bad because you can't throw anything down the field or there's broken plays all over the place. So this was a very bad quarterback year. The standouts were Diego Pavia, who was fumbling handoffs
Mm.
routinely, and Garrett Nussmeier, who was probably the best ball thrower, but otherwise looked like he was kind of struggling to keep shit together. I don't
That's
know.
amazing because that's the first time I've thought of him in about 2 months.
Yeah,
I
right. And
mean,
you go back a year ago, and people were like, "First round pick."
they were. I weren't. You can remember I was
Oh
saying
yeah,
I thought that guy was overrated. I didn't see it in him last year, and I didn't see it much this year. And I saw him in person and was pretty unimpressed. So then he got benched, didn't he? Actually, later on in the year.
I, I think so. But I had heard. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say this. I don't know if it's true. I don't. Oh, yeah, then I'll just preface this. I don't know if this is true, but you get
Mhm.
down there and you're around a bunch of other people from other teams. Sorry, other people like us, right? Like either
Mhm.
insane dorks or they have their own show for their team, right? And so everyone's
Right.
got different needs and they're paying attention to different things. So they're digging into things deeper. So it's somebody. Everyone's always talking and sharing information. It's pretty friendly down there. And
Mhm.
I'd heard that all of last year Nussmeier was this last season was hurt and was playing like overcompensating on one side of his body because it was like the whole side of his body was messed up, and so he played like shit all year, and they had to like iron out his mechanics. So
I that would not surprise me. I mean, that was like kind of the DJ Lagway problem in Florida, where he hurt his leg and he was overcompensating for how he threw. Anthony Richardson was another quarterback like that.
mhm.
That happens more than you think, and that would not surprise me for someone like him.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know enough about LSU, their season they had. I didn't watch any Garrett Nussmeier from this year to really comment on that. But that was one of those things I heard. I was like, oh yeah. So just store that in my memory bank for later in
Hmm.
case I ever need that information. But yeah, so there was a huge imbalance on where some of the talent was. So like the offensive line for one team was pretty good. The defensive line for the other team was really good. So you had the disparity of drills where the morning practice you had the offensive line was winning a lot or more frequently, and then the evening practice is like the offensive line couldn't catch a break. I mean, you just had like an insane rotation of guys. It was Grayson Halton from Oklahoma was killing people back there. Caleb
Hmm.
Banks was killing people. Tyreek Sapp was killing people. Lee
Ah,
Hunter was killing people. I mean, it was nonstop. LT Overton was back there. Tim Keenan, Chris McClellan. This is all one team. All
wow.
one team had all those guys on it. Derek Moore was another one. Zion Young was another one. These guys, they were the offensive linemen here, and there were some decent ones on that team. They didn't stand a chance.
Well, let's do a really quick segment of just Gators. How did some of these offensive linemen for the Gators look on there? I had heard um, that they were generally bad. Like Austin Barber was bad. How did they look? Any of those?
So I think they both started out bad. I think their Tuesdays were not good. I think that by the end of the week they were performing better, but
Hmm.
it's a little difficult to end mediocre when you start bad and change people's minds as
Yeah,
opposed to starting good, and you know what I mean, like it just yeah, they didn't perform great. But like I said, they were up against the tougher D line. I thought that Slaughter was a little bit better than Barber to start off with, but I think they ended
yeah.
about the same. Um,
Barber was, he had a lot of hype before the season started, and ended up in that A&M game. He went up against Cassius Howell and got murdered.
oh
The
yeah.
ent- for 3 hours was abused, and it was like this was a preseason All SEC left tackle, and it was an embarrassment.
Hmm.
So that kind of put the real, I don't know about this guy in the NFL type of thing after that one performance against really good talent. So
Yeah, so I'm trying to think on offensive lineman that really stood out. I don't know about really stood out, but the Miami center James Brockermeyer was okay. He was
mhm.
doing some stuff. Really, I mean, the main ones were on the other team. So I thought that Kansas State center Sam Hecht was okay. Texas A&M's offensive lineman Trey Zune I thought was pretty good. And then the best one down there by far was Iowa tackle Jennings Dunker.
Oh.
And you probably see his face all over like Twitter and like whatever. Like he's built like a brick shithouse. Like you know what I mean. Like a lot of these offensive linemen, they're 300 something pounds, but like there's a lot of belly there, and it's like yeah, I know this guy's strong, but everything looks kind of round.
Mhm.
You look at this dude, and he literally looks like a hockey player that got too big. He's like 6'4", 6'5", like hockey player, and he's got like a
Mhm.
red mullet and like a handlebar mustache, and he's just badass. And he was great down there. I don't know that he's really going to be a tackle at the next level because I think like foot speed is just going to give him too many issues. It's not worth it. But I think on the inside, I think he could be an absolute monster. Um, so he was kind of the standout offensive lineman down here. Um, we learned Tyreek Sapp is not Warren Sapp's kid.
Yeah, I could have told you that.
Yeah, I'm sure you could have. We found out in most embarrassing fashion, but
Oh no.
well, I mean, it was nothing that bad, but it was just like Bobby was like having this moment of like, wow, he's right there, and like tweeted out a picture of him as like, if I could just tell younger Bobby, I'd get to see his favorite player's son or whatever, and like someone on Twitter was like, yeah, it's not his son. We're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to come on the trip next year and fact check you boys.
Yeah, there you
That's funny.
go. In terms of Giants needs, I don't know if you're interested in that. I
Oh
went to
well, yeah.
the
Although it
defensive
is kind of
tackle
tough.
stuff.
It's kind of tough, I guess. If there are general needs that Giants have, but without having an offensive coordinator yet, it's a little tough to, I guess, more tougher on the skill position than like on the needs of like inside, I guess. So Tell me
Uh,
what you think.
I don't know. So, first of all, on the offensive side, I would totally agree with you, right?
Mhm.
There is, but I mean, you don't even have to necessarily like a good player is a good player. So, okay,
True.
John Harbaugh prefers really large guards that, I'm speaking hypothetically here. I don't know what
Right.
John Harbaugh loves. Let's just pretend John Harbaugh loves very large guards that are phone boothy and they power block forward in man gap blocking schemes or whatever. You take
Right.
note of the best ones down here that look like they're going to fit that. Then you see a
Mhm.
guy like Jennings Dunker and you're like, okay, he played tackle. He's athletic and stuff. It's just like the foot speed isn't going to work, but he's a little bit leaner because he's more muscular, whatever. And he'll be like on poles and operating in space and stuff like that. And you mark that down too. And it
Mhm.
kind of doesn't matter. It's just more like which direction are they going to go in. And we'll figure that out later when it comes to the offensive coordinator or whatever.
Mhm.
But you have a general idea of where the depth deficiencies are and what the
Yeah.
needs are, right? Like I personally, like, I'm not really a big fan of like, well, we don't have a wide receiver, so we have to draft a wide receiver first. Like you should be backfilling your roster and acquiring good players, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So you have a general idea of where you need to be looking anyway without a coach, I
Mhm.
would say. And I think
Mhm.
on the defensive side it's a lot easier, right? Like the trickiness. Yeah, well, it's on the. You know what? I'm lying to you. It's not any easier on the defensive side, but it's easier for the Giants because they hired Denard Wilson, right? So like
Yeah.
you have a general idea.
You have a blueprint of what you want now, as opposed to just, I don't know what we're going to be doing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Mhm.
with the Giants especially needing defensive line help next to Dexter Lawrence, it was hard to ignore all the defensive line talent down here. I mean, Caleb Banks is going in the first round. 100% going in the first round. Does that news surprise you in the slightest?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that dude's an animal. There was
Yeah.
nothing anybody down here could do about it. Nothing.
Hmm.
Um, and there was a bunch of other guys down here that are fringy. Like, I had no idea who the hell Grayson Halton was from Oklahoma. No clue. Caught my eye first day. I'm like, all right, cool. Make note of that. And he's the first player I watched when I came home. Uh,
Hmm.
Came home, put on some film. Well, I was sick, so I came home and I did absolutely nothing the day I came home. Next day of the Senior Bowl, I put on Grayson Halton's film, and it's a fucking replica of what I saw down in Mobile. I was like, this dude's an animal. If he's not going in the first round, he's going at the very top of the second round.
Caleb
Um,
Banks is probably the guy that most improved this stock, over the past year for Florida, for sure.
Even though he was hurt,
He played, hold on.
I'm not exactly sure how many
Mhm.
games he played.
Yeah, but when he played, he was solid. I mean, the defensive line was not bad for Florida.
No, I mean Tyreek Sapp is good.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They're not in the same class. I don't think. I would say Tyreek Sapp is probably a day two pick.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Thanks, played. Keep going.
I'm just thinking that whole Florida defensive line I thought was played really well last year.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know who's remaining, who's staying behind. That's part of that rotation. I'm sure you would know.
Yeah, I mean, the Florida defense was so bad for like 3, 4 years that being adequate felt like all of a sudden it was the steel curtain.
Well, I think overall they were adequate, but I think that defensive front was very good.
Hmm. Hmm.
They were kind of screwed and let down by the defensive backfield. Lot of bad penalty, a lot of bad pass interference and
A
holding
lot of, yeah,
penalties.
how many big plays were given up like just on a stupid penalty or something. You're right. It was just, when you're poorly coached also,
Mm.
that really hurts and you get a loser's mentality too. So,
Yeah, and it's a confidence position too. If
mhm.
you're always fucking up, you're planning on fucking up, you're expecting to fuck up, and then you fuck up. Um, so other positions of need down here, I tried to get a look at some tight ends. It felt like this was the first time we had tight ends that were two-way players. So like a lot
Mhm.
of times down here is you get like Payne Durham, who's just a blocking machine, or you get these guys that are like 6'4" wide receivers and they have no blocking ability whatsoever. And the way tight end drills are down here is like you can't really get a sense of much of anything until team drills, and then team drills you're watching a million things. You're not trying to hyper focus on tight ends. So it's difficult, but there were a couple guys down here that were two-way tight ends. Sam Roush from Stanford.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus. Go ahead.
Sam Roush from Stanford, John Michael Gillenberg from Wyoming, and Will Kazmarek from Ohio State were all guys that I thought had pretty average weeks down here. Gillenberg looked bad in the Senior Bowl game itself. He had a bad drop. But overall, throughout the week, I think he was average. Same thing with Sam Roush.
And for the record, you don't care about the game itself, right? You guys don't even stay for it. It's more about.
Well, we live streamed it actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
we did.
Last second thing, Bobby was like thinking about doing this. I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'll do it.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it would, like I said, last minute plan. Just kind of jumped on. He made a graphic. I retweeted it, and that was it. We were on. But we were planning on just doing the first half. As far as your
analysis, though.
No, so not really. I mean, most of what I'm looking for down there is the repeat drills, going best against best, and seeing how guys improve from week to week, right? Like, you can see, like, this guy's got bad footwork, he's getting extra coaching, and then by the end of the week, he's actually playing really, really well. That person's very coachable, and is, a lot can change with them in a short period of time. And then other guys, you get down here, like, man, that was college it for them. Like, they are just not going to transition. The game itself, you get a sense of the running backs a little bit more, the linebackers a little bit more. Those are positions that are hard to judge in drills and stuff. And in practice, too. Like, they do team drills, and they're doing all running plays. Are linebackers really thinking that hard, knowing that a run play is coming? You know what I mean? So, like, even in team drills in practice, you see linebackers walloping everybody. It's like, well, he doesn't have to think. He's just playing downhill. Then you get them into the game, and they actually have to do shit. So, like, if I were to, like, I would say maybe it counts for, like, 20% of my brain for most players.
Okay.
If they're a running back or linebacker, then maybe 30-40%,
Mm-hmm.
Or tight end. But for the most part, everybody else I'm looking in practice throughout the week. Mm-hmm. They do dumb shit too. They do like flea flickers. So, some wide receivers looked really good. I know that the Giants definitely need one. If they're not going to resign Wan'Dale Robinson, Kevin Coleman from Missouri is definitely somebody that stood out to us. And there was another dude, and I thought this was he played at Wisconsin, and I don't understand why that man didn't transfer out of there. Because, I mean, like, you'd understand why a receiver from Wisconsin doesn't have great stats, right?
Sure.
But
they have a good wide receiver. Who's the last good one? Al Toon with the Jets 40 years ago?
Well, they don't even have a good quarterback.
That's true.
Who's throwing to these? It's a running team up there, always.
They had Russell Wilson for a year, right? Before he left?
Yes. They had Russell Wilson for 1 year. That's it.
Yeah, that's 1 in 40 years is not very good.
Yeah. So, but Vinny Anthony from Wisconsin was very, very good route runner. So I'm interested to see how that moves. And I think coming down to Mobile was probably a really good idea for him.
Mm-hmm. Any players you thought, the other ones you thought lost stock from being there?
I mean, I don't know where they're stocky. I think. So one of the things I think about the Senior Bowl is that it's amazing. It's great. It's a perfect opportunity to make it like an all-star game, and I think it's the best all-star game that they have. They do a great job. I also think that people overrate it, and they go crazy over like a rep or like a moment. Like, yes, those are great moments, and it's a crazy play. And some guys come down here and they show out like Kenyon Mitchell or Aaron Donald, and they make a name for themselves down here, and they are all pros. Most guys just have a good rep, and it's a memorable rep, but like you are way over dramatizing how important this moment is. It's a rep in drills, maybe the guy slipped, I don't know.
Right.
So I do think that people think that player stocks are way more affected than they are. But there were a couple guys that within myself I had like an idea of who they were, and then I came down here and I was like, um, Malik Muhammad from Texas, cornerback from Texas,
Mm-hmm.
was nobody down there. I mean, he was just
Really?
he's super grabby. He was get like occasionally like a wide receiver DB drill, you get a flag thrown or whatever, and they're a little bit ticky tack. Very rarely do you see 3 flags thrown on every single play. So it's like every single official on the field throwing a flag. And on top of that, he was letting stuff get picked up. So that's no good. Austin Barber, I thought, was a little disappointing. Markel Bell from Miami was terrible.
Really?
The tackle for Miami was just horrendous.
Hmm.
I don't know if he had any good moments throughout. Another one that was disappointing for me was Aaron Anderson from LSU. Really, really short slot receiver, but I had done work on him in the past, and then I refreshed myself before I went down there. Such a good route runner, sharp, like crisp, very quick-footed. And then you get him in the open field with the ball, and he's like a menace out there. And down here, he dropped everything. He dropped everything thrown his way. So those are pretty much everybody I thought kind of within myself lost stock. I don't know how much their stock was really affected though.
I want to get back to one question. You talk about, we said how much you value Senior Bowl practice versus game.
Mhm.
When, as an evaluator of talent, where do you rank game film throughout a season, Senior Bowl practice and game, and the combine when you are kind of coming up with your, an analysis of somebody? Like, which one is like the most important, or is it really just a combination of the three, or do you value one above the other?
Well, I mean, some of this is dependent on the player, right? So we'll work backwards here. The combine I
Mhm.
take very little out of. Guys trained for it. Some of it's not very functional. I mean, there are things in there that I will take. I don't ignore it completely, but I
Mhm.
don't. I don't drop my pants for a guy because his broad jump is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like I understand where that comes into play and whatever, and for
Right.
some guys that may appear athletically limited, that they can boost their own stock and do things like that. And that's where you check boxes. Or guys can show up really unprepared and do a terrible job, and that certainly checks a box for me. So those are
Mhm.
kind of the only things I really look at with the combine, is like how prepared do they look, and where do their final measurements and stuff come in on certain things. Um,
Mhm.
Me personally, I think game film is the most important thing, but there is like an asterisk to that, right? Like if we're looking at game film of Caleb Banks, for instance, I know he
Right.
played an SEC schedule, and
You're
normally what I do is I have whole libraries of college film. I try to find an average matchup for the player and then their most difficult matchup. And if it's a player that I'm really focusing on, like someone I think is going to go in the first round, I'll add a third game to that, and I'll find another difficult matchup for them, possibly in a previous year or whatever. But I'm trying to find them in their best situation. You get a player from Toledo, and their game film is certainly important, but now the Senior Bowl week practices start to factor a lot more when you're playing against big boys and
Yeah.
not playing against future insurance salesmen. And by future insurance salesmen, I mean next year. So,
Right.
so I it depends on the player and where they're coming from. For me,
Mhm. I always thought game film was really important because it's the closest thing to simulating what they're going to do in real life.
yeah,
As much as Senior Bowl is, it's mono e mono and a lot of drills and everything. It's not the same. You are thinking about a game for 7 days, and you're getting into that headspace, and then you're going to knock the shit out of somebody. And you can't replicate that with a drill or even in an all-star game. It's, you're thinking about other things. You're thinking about, how does this look and all this other thing. So I'm still a big game tape guy, but I agree with you completely. It's such a variance in who's your opponent, the quality of your opponent.
yeah. The other thing, I mean, you can get some good stuff out of the practice too, and you see the guys who take it real seriously, or the guys who are
Mhm.
having fun out there. Like Grayson Halton is losing his mind after every play. He's hyping himself up and like I mean, it sounds stupid, but like I like that. That's a guy who likes coming to work every day.
Sure.
I mean, you get some other moody diva that gets up and just like hangs his head and whatever. Like, give me the guy firing himself
That's the guy
up.
you got to worry about in July when it's time to get serious. And that guy who's banging his head against the wall has been in a cage for 2 months, ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So one of the most difficult things about being down there, though, I gotta say, and this is the second time this has fucking happened, is dealing with like coaching search stuff.
Ugh.
So I think we were scrambling to do Mike Kafka and Brian Dable stuff. The one year we were down there,
Mhm.
or maybe just Mike. I don't remember. We were scrambling through maybe like assistant coaches and something like that. So while we're down there, you have Denard Wilson gets hired, and Todd Monken gets hired by Cleveland, and that throws a wrench into everything, right? Because let me ask you this: did it feel to you that they were just banking on Todd Monken being the offensive coordinator, or do you think that they were just kind of hanging around?
I think they were kind of banking on it, but I always had a feeling he was going to go to become a head coach. I thought it. I thought the media and I thought everybody was just assuming he was going to be the offensive coordinator. I'm like, you know, he's had a pretty, he was at Georgia, then in offense coordinator. Like he's going to be a head coach. This guy, where it's going to be. And it was happening sooner than later. And when Harbaugh left, it's his time. So I always was very skeptical of we're holding a space for him. We're waiting for this. I'm like, he's the slightest sniff of a head coaching job. He's taking it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think that they were really prepared for him to take that job, um,
Hmm.
because it was like the night before. Suddenly, the Giants are requesting interviews with other people.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so now it seems that we're down to like some funny names and whatever. So I'm just gonna kind of run through the list of names, and if you have minor thoughts, go into your minor thoughts. If you have
Okay.
more long-winded thoughts, go into those. But some of these names are getting scooped up. So I'll start with one that was scooped up. Davis Webb was someone that was uh, connected to them. I believe they requested an interview with him. I'm not sure if they ever did interview him, but ultimately we learned today that he is staying in Denver, and I think he's I don't know, getting play calling duties or something, but he's remaining as offensive coordinator in Denver.
Young. I mean, he's a young guy and a smart guy. He went to Cal, which Cranky will keeps reminding me about. Um, these coaches keep skewing younger and younger.
Hmm.
Like Davis Webb, when did he stop playing in the
Yeah,
NFL?
it really wasn't that long ago, man.
It wasn't that long ago at all. I kind of want these guys to percolate a little bit with a little bit more experience before I want these guys to be my coaches. But I think he's going to be a player as a coach in this league in the next couple of years for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's getting head coaching searches, so I think
Yeah,
to me, it was either he was going to take a head coaching search a job this cycle, or he was going to smartly wait and do a year calling plays. And if that's what you're going to do, then why leave Sean Payton in
sure.
Denver? Stay there, keep keep growing in what you're comfortable in, and don't take on all new junk. You know what I mean? You got
Yeah.
to meet all these people. You come to the Giants, owners half dead. I'm not joking around, but like there's just shit going on. You know what I mean? John Harbaugh's trying to do his thing and instill his stuff and build a culture. It's like you were Sean Payton already. You went to the AFC Championship game. Like you could just percolate.
And your goal is to be a head coach. That's your fastest path.
Sure. Next name. The Giants did interview this guy, Willie Taggart. So the thought process is that Willie Taggart is set to be the running backs coach. He was interviewed for the offensive coordinator position. He has agreed to be part of the staff, which is why everyone seems to think he's just going to be the running backs coach, and everyone assumed would be the running backs coach under Todd Monken. Nevertheless, he is one of the guys that was interviewed.
So, Grump, what were our main criticisms of Brian Dable as our head coach?
Not caring about things that matter, like defense and special teams, and just relying on other coaches to do that. That was number one. Not holding players accountable is a really, really big one, and not pushing them to like having them prepared. You know what I mean? Like practice being very, very lackadaisical.
These sound like the attributes of one Willie Taggart when he was coach at Florida State. Didn't even make it 2 years
Yeah.
in a major college program. That is red flag. I mean, listen, I follow them very closely also, and it was just their precipitous drop when he became head coach. It was, I wish they would give him a 5-year contract, because all of those things that we talked about with Dable was what that Florida State team became. And you are what you are as a coach. Now, from becoming a head coach at a major university to a position coach in the NFL is, that's a drop. But something, those things, attention to detail, holding accountability, I want that in every single one of my coaches, from head coach to the guy who runs and picks up the tee after a kickoff. So, you know, I know he has a working relationship with Harbaugh, but this one will always shake my head how this guy keeps getting jobs.
Well, I mean, I think as a running backs coach, he's overqualified. I don't think he's a bad coach going through things. I think he's a terrible head coach. And I certainly I wouldn't want him as an offensive coordinator either.
Right.
You know, he got in a lot of trouble at Oregon before going to Florida State, for running like military style practices, and a bunch of kids got sick. It was like 10 of them. It was not like one or two. And I think it's also pretty hard to get in trouble at the college level for doing stuff like that. I think that sort of thing tends to get overlooked at the college level, personally.
Yeah. It's quite a dichotomy when you're talking about someone who's running a military style thing but has no attention to detail. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Just being a dick.
I remember reading about it, and I don't remember what it was. But it was some crazy amount of wind sprints and whatever. And it was during the summer. Yeah. It was the summer off-season program, so, but as far as like understanding offense, I understand the hire and why he's here, and it's because of Jackson's ability and what he did at USF, and developing an offense that was very quick and up tempo, and relied sort of on like a triple option sort of mixture with the West Coast. And Jackson Dart's ability to run with the ball just as well as handing it off, and just as well as throwing it, it's understandable why he was brought in there. And I think there's even a chance that he ends up being like run game coordinator or something like that, which whatever. That wouldn't surprise me. But as an offensive coordinator, I would be thumbs way down. Another popular name is Cliff Kingsbury.
That someone intrigues me. I still go back to the Texas Tech days, and it was an offense that was wide open, scored a lot of points, was exciting. And again, this might be a guy that keeps bouncing back and forth between head coach, offensive offensive coordinator, not knowing what his exact role is. But that's someone that I kind of am interested in, rolling the dice with and see how he does as coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, so what's interesting about him is how different. I wouldn't necessarily say how different, but like it was like a wide open air raid style at Texas Tech. And then you get to the NFL, and like his run game creativity has really taken off. And he did excellent with Jaden Daniels in his rookie year, and then this year he kind of got shafted. Jaden Daniels got hurt. Right. I think people think very lowly of Cliff Kingsbury. I'm not jumping for joy for him, but I can see the benefit. I don't think he's as bad as other people seem to think, but I do think that there is some level of staleness to his offense. Like, there's not a whole lot of like wrinkles in his own stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of motion, and I don't think that he like builds one thing into many. You know what I mean? I just think he has nice, interesting wrinkles on stuff. So he's someone that I think can continue getting better as an offensive coordinator at the next level, or he could just be a great head coach at his next shot. You know what I mean? Is it possible that Kyler Murray is just not as good as we thought? and held him back in Arizona. I don't know, maybe.
Right, right. And also, when I'm thinking about offensive coordinators in the NFL, I still have a lot lower time horizon that I do with head coaches. To me, when I hire a head coach, I think that guy's lasting hopefully 5, 6, 7 years. Everything works out well. A coordinator, you know, if he's good for 2, 3 years, I'm thinking he's going to become a head coach somewhere.
Oh, dude,
So
bingo. So that's like another thing. Those people were kind of complaining, like Cliff Kingsbury's like he's good for 1 year, and then everyone figures out what he's doing. It's like I don't really expect him to be here for more than a year, man. If we had
yeah,
Davis Webb, he wouldn't be here for more than 1 year.
no
He
way,
comes here and
no way.
if he's everything that you wanted him to be, then he's a head coach in a year anyway. So right now, at this point in time, if Jackson Dart's career, he needs a certain structure. He needs something taken off him. They need my personal opinion, they need a run game that functions really, really well and that he's a part of that can take the pressure off of him doing everything in the pocket. That's what they need to set up fundamentally for him. That's what
Mhm.
needs to be built. Once you built that, you can do any offense you want with Jackson Dart. I firmly
Mhm.
believe that. But I
Mhm.
have no problem with them emphasizing like a strong run game kind of guy. And I just think that your offensive coordinator, the best one in the world, may not be the right one for you in the moment you have with the quarterback you have, right?
Right,
If you
right.
have no quarterback, get the best offensive coordinator you can, right? But you have a franchise quarterback right now, and is what he needs Joe Brady? I don't know. Maybe that's only going to work for someone who's Joe Burrow or Josh Allen.
Giant fans probably don't want to hear this, but we need coaches, coordinators, position coaches to get this team ready to win, not to win right now.
Hmm.
That's going to come. You know, we have a quarterback that's like a loaf of bread that still needs to be in the oven a little while longer before it's ready to be eaten. You know, we're not trying to win the NFC Championship game next year with Jackson Dart. He needs specific coaching. He needs reps. He needs to be comfortable with another offseason and another year playing before we start talking about that. So, you know, is Cliff Kingsbury the right guy who's a developer of quarterbacks? As much as it is like, oh, they figured out his offense that they can't win games anymore or they can't take them to the next level. I'm not as worried about that right now. Right now, number one is making Jackson Dart that leap from prospect to showing flashes to this guy's a starting NFL quarterback with an upside that can win championships potentially. I'll leave you speechless.
No, I'm sorry. There's another one we got to talk about, and that's Brian Callahan, former Titans head coach Brian Callahan.
Seems to be a lot of back and forth between the Giants and the Titans over coaches, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as an offensive coordinator, probably not so bad. I don't really remember, um, but I'm dubious on this because of the way he set up Cam Ward. I just don't feel like Cam Ward was in a system that was accentuating his talents. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
felt very much like he was gonna trial by fire his way into pro style stuff. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? It's just like I don't care what you're good at right now and what you need to get better at. This is how we run offense, and I think that's a specifically not something John Harbaugh wants, and B, it's something I don't philosophically agree with.
Is it telling that he's not being retained for a second year with Cam Ward, regardless of who the head coach is, or
That organization's a shit show.
okay, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, like you look at the track record. They let Vrabel go, and they hung
Yeah.
on to the GM instead. So they made a mistake there, and then they went through the whole Callahan thing. It's an absolute disaster.
Mhm.
Um, and now they're getting through with Robert Sala, which I don't know. We'll have to see with him as head coach. Brian, but like they're assembling a staff that looks respectable, but it's like it's Gus Bradley,
It's a
Robert
weird
Sala,
move.
John Fossil, and Brian Dable. This is a bunch of basically head coaches.
Weird move for Salah. I mean, I know he flamed out pretty bad with the Jets, but he certainly built his reputation back with the 49ers. And that Titans job sounds like a desperation. Like, I just want to be a head coach and be damned with, what the talent is, who the general manager is, anything else is. That's me to get a job.
We'll
And I
see.
felt, and I felt like Saleh was a guy who could probably be a little more picky and choosy, even though what happened with the Jets.
We'll see. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I think the hardest thing for Salah was being in New York. If I'm being honest with you, I
Eh,
think being in New York with a temperamental fan base and a temperamental owner.
mhm.
Um, I think maybe he doesn't have as much of that going on in Nashville, and that
They're certainly second fiddle to Tennessee, and after last year, Vanderbilt probably too. So,
yeah. So I think that perhaps what he thinks he needs is just time before the pressure is too much,
mhm.
and he can build whatever. And the situation's also different. He's got a quarterback already that looks like he's going to be something, and they paired him up with Brian Dable. Like he surrounded himself with other coaches, so we'll have to see.
We'll have to see.
Um, Last one, Alex Tanney.
I don't know much about him as coaching wise, but another ex-Giant quarterback, right?
Yep, and super duper young. Um, I would like to see. So, like we were saying, with like a guy like Cliff Kingsbury or Brian Callahan or whatever, these are possibly 1 year rentals.
Mhm.
That's where you bring Alex Tanney on as like passing game coordinator or
Yeah.
something like that. Have him in the wings to take over the OC job 2027 season.
And there's, just because someone's a passing game coordinator, that's not a knock or a slight or less responsibility. I mean,
Well, it's
Joe
less
Brady, when
responsibility.
but I mean like less influence on things. Because
Sure.
like Joe Brady was not the offensive coordinator at LSU when they won the national title. He was the passing game coordinator, but
Right.
everybody to this day remember that as the Joe Brady offense.
Right.
So
And that's sort of where the OC search is at right now. Um, you know, we'll, we'll have to see. I don't think that the Giants were prepared for Todd Monken to take that job because
I don't
it
think so
feels like
either.
we're a little late in the process to be getting out a lot of interview requests. That seems like in reaction to something. So
Is there anybody from either the two teams playing this weekend they may be looking at or waiting for?
no, I don't think so. I think all those guys are waiting for head coaching jobs. Clint Kubiak. Um, oh, is there somebody in New England? I don't know if there's anybody in New England.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. But Clint
Mhm.
Kubiak is the main one in Seattle.
Mhm.
Um, and I think he's getting a head coaching job. I think it's going to be the Raiders.
Lee Kubiak. Okay.
Um,
Expected to join Raiders after Super Bowl. Yeah.
I um, I kind of think that this Super Bowl is going to be a blowout.
I do too. I mean, I've been trying to find ways to talk myself into, well, maybe New England has a chance, but I just don't see it. I I really don't. I just think Seattle's defense is way too good, and you know, I don't see New. Yeah, I just don't see it. I've gone round and round, round and round, round and round, but I just see this as being a double-digit Seattle win.
I think the biggest argument you can have for New England winning, I think, is reliant on preconceived bias that Sam Darnold sucks.
Yeah.
And I think Sam Darnold is not really that bad. I think that he got stuck with. I think he was a dude who had all of the abilities coming out of college, and just like most other guys need times to develop. And being with the Jets is the worst place to develop. And he had to bounce around the league and kind of find his way,
He-
but eventually found his way, I think.
He's actually a better version of what Baker Mayfield became. He wins more.
No. Well, I mean, he doesn't really play.
Well, I
I don't know.
mean,
I think he's playing excellent these last 2 years between there and Minnesota.
he
Um,
he's got more wins than any other quarterback in the last 2 years.
he's been electric the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, I just I don't know. I think he's a fine quarterback. I don't think that would you say he's better than Dak? I might.
I would right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Dak is the bigger choke artist to me. Um, but yeah, so I don't think that Sam Darnold is half as bad as people think, and I think that a lot of their thoughts are rooted in memories of a young kid in a bad organization trying to
And
figure out
also
the
last
NFL.
year, that bad. Then the last two games he was bad too. People remember that.
Sure.
But you know, another year, another team and doing a lot of success. I mean, at some point, you have all of this in the scale of positive and these things of negative. You got to look at the positive more.
Yeah.
I think there's
It's also
enough
more
against this New
recent.
England team. What's that?
The positivity is more recent than a lot of the
Of course.
negativity.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, I have Seattle winning this one. I don't think it's particularly close. I think maybe the score is like somewhat respectable, but I'm expecting like a 31-24 kind of situation.
Yeah, I think they win by 10-13. I think if you gave Drake May another year, maybe I would say, well, Drake May
Well, just
really is
also
this
just
good.
give that whole organization another year. I mean, shit,
Yeah.
the turnaround is ridiculous.
Hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with them losing this game.
No, 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 not at all. I mean, they're not choke artists. You know, they're not all of a sudden the 93 Bills or anything who can't win the big one. I mean, this time last year, what they have 4 wins last year?
I think
They were
so.
terrible. And then looking for a new coach and all this, and all of a sudden, I mean, these turnarounds can happen. I mean, if you're a Giant fan, don't count on it, but a story like the Patriots should give you hope that it's possible. If you have the right coaching hire, you hit on your quarterback. Two most important things, I think, in football. Say all you want about offensive line and this, that. Give me a good coach and a good quarterback, you got a shot. And we know we have a good coach now, and we think we have a good quarterback. So this is kind of you look at this and you're like, well, why not us next year?
Sure, I agree. I don't think there's a good reason why the Giants shouldn't be competing for their division next year.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously there's the draft, there's coaching cycle, there's free agency, there's training camp. There's still a lot to go before we lace anything up. But
Give me give me meaningful games after Thanksgiving. That's the start. That
mhm.
should be our baseline hope and expectation for this team next year. Give me meaningful games after Thanksgiving.
Which is what at that point you have 5 weeks left.
Yeah. I mean, if meaningful means we're in the hunt for a wild card, great.
Hmm.
I don't want to be in this situation again where, and again, you get a little bit of a pass because you have a whole new coaching staff and it's not, but I expect by, we get into December of 2026, I'm flipping around Sunday ticket. I'm seeing what Washington's doing, or I'm seeing what Detroit's doing if I'm worrying about that second wild card or third wild card team, or maybe even against what Philly's doing to win the division. Who knows? But that's where I want to be next year.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Um, all right, I think that's gonna do it for this episode.
Yeah.
We're waiting on that offensive coordinator hire, and then after that, I think everything's gonna fall like dominoes, and
Mhm.
we start heading towards the combine, which is kind of the
Wow.
next thing on the schedule, believe it or not. So um, that's gonna do it. We will catch you guys on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, and of course YouTube. I'm also on Giants Nation Show with Bobby Skinner. We have a Facebook and Instagram and TikTok now for Just
Yeah.
Giants, so we are all over social media now. Check us out there as well.
Just a couple of boomers jumping into social media. It's great.
Yeah, it's,
No, we
we
appreciate
should,
everybody who's been following us and sharing all our stuff, our little clips. So we'll keep those coming for you.
absolutely, and we will see you guys next week. Until then, go Giants.
Go Giants.